Hi, I'm Davis Ferguson, a solution consultant here at Kahua. Today we're focusing on a critical but often overlooked challenge in project delivery: how we capture, manage, and deliver asset information. As a former superintendent, I've lived the handover process and I know how often it becomes a scramble. The project is wrapping up, timelines are tight, and suddenly you're chasing down asset data, digging through submittals, O&M manuals, spreadsheets, just trying to piece everything together into something usable for the operations team. And even then, it rarely feels complete. Questions come later, but by that point, the project team has already moved on. That's exactly the problem Kahua's asset-centric project management approach is designed to solve. Instead of treating asset data as a last-minute effort, Kahua captures and organizes that information as the work happens. So when it's time for handover, you're delivering clean, connected, and usable data from day one. So to start, I'm here on Kahua's home screen, and I can quickly access my projects, or my tasks, or any unread messages that have been sent to me. From here, I'll navigate into one of Kahua's core applications involved in this process, the Submittals app. In here, I can see my various submittals, but every item in submittals can be tied to both a location and a specific asset. So, for example, I open up this office exhaust fan O&M warranty submittal. I can see up in the top left that this has been linked to a specific location and that asset here. So at any time throughout the duration of the project, I could come to the top and press Update Asset and see my missing asset attributes. I can input these in directly from the submittal, or if I press Show All, I can see all of the attributes, even the ones that have been completed, and I can make any edits, changes, or adjustments as needed. The key point here is that the asset data isn't being collected only at the end of the project. It's being built progressively as part of a standard workflows. I can click my asset tag up here to be taken directly from the submittal into the asset manager. You can see we're now in the asset manager application. I can see the exhaust fan asset record, and I can view various information like specific details and all my asset attributes. What I would like to clarify for the attributes for each asset is this is entirely set up and configured by the user. So for example, for an exhaust fan, we're collecting different attributes than we would for something like asphalt pavement or guardrails. You're going to define what attributes are collected and can templatize how that data is organized. Kahua also gives you the flexibility for how this information comes into the system. You can enter it in directly through the submittals application as we just saw, but you can also integrate with existing systems like a CMMS, or you can pull data in from BIM models. I can also even capture it in the field using mobile tools. So you may see the scan nameplate autofill here. If I click this, I can select a file or a nameplate from my desktop, but this works best from my mobile device. So utilizing Kahua's mobile applications, I can just go ahead and scan a nameplate directly in the field. So this is the mobile interface here. If I snap a quick picture of a nameplate, it's going to upload into Kahua. The app will scan the nameplate and extract the data from the nameplate into the empty fields within my Asset Manager application. I'm going to have one last opportunity to confirm this data before pressing confirm. And with that information input into the fields, I can go ahead and save the asset nameplate photo and link it directly to my record. So jumping back over into Kahua here, if I continue to scroll down the asset record, I can see things like the current condition of the asset. We have various inspections apps such as facility condition assessments or just general inspections to allow me to assess the condition of all my assets. I have a place where I can upload photos if I want to track conditions of my assets. And then I have a section for linked documents. So you can see all the linked records in Kahua. You can see the submittal that we navigated here from. I can also see that this exhaust fan was on an RFI. It was part of a punch list. Having this audible, trackable record history is very handy, where once the project or the building has been turned over, if I'm still having issues with it or anything like that, I can refer back to the asset record and see, hey, this asset was on a punch list at one point. We were having that same issue just a few weeks before this building turned over. Perhaps it was never installed correctly. So having this history and trackable trail to fall back on to is helpful as you turn this building over into operations. The references section allows me to upload any additional documentation or maintenance log. I have a section where I can specify required submittals. So if I want to make it clear that for every exhaust fan, I need to upload product data, spec sheets, red lines, and I can clearly define that as needed at the asset or the type level. And then at the bottom, I have a place where I can track condition history. So I push this asset through its standard life cycle. Every facility condition assessment or deficiency that's logged is going to be tracked in this condition history section. So now that you can understand what the asset record looks like, if I back out of here, you're going to see my full asset list. And I think it's important to understand how the asset taxonomy is organized within Kahua. If I expand this drop down here, you can see that we have systems, we have types, and we have assets. So the system is going to be an overarching system, I guess you could say, something like HVAC. Type would be the components of that system, so air handling units, exhaust fans, and then the assets would be the installed in-place assets themselves. So for example, air handling unit 1, air handling unit 2, air handling unit 3. At any level of this taxonomy, I can track attribute information. So if I go to types and we drill into air handling units, I'm going to be logging attributes such as model number, manufacturer. If I scroll down, I can see all the individual assets that fall under this asset type, and I can quickly jump to them if I need to drill in further for details. So just like we were tracking model number at the type level, that asset level will allow me to track more specific asset attribute information, such as serial number, dimensions, perhaps installation date. Again, these asset attributes are entirely defined by the user and can be templatized across all of your projects and assets. So now that we have all this asset attribute information stored in Kahua, it's important to know that I can push this out of Kahua as well. So we're a partner with IBM Maximo, so you can very seamlessly push this data into a CMMS such as Maximo to leverage as needed. We have all this asset information floating around Kahua. Well, how do we organize it? How do we see trends? How do we know what we need to replace in the years to come? Well, to best do that, we'll utilize Kahua's analytics tool. What this is Microsoft Power BI embedded in Kahua. I don't need a Power BI license to access these dashboards or visualize this data. And in here, as long as it's a metric in Kahua, I can push it to these dashboards. So we can see my asset attributes organized by location type, location, asset type, and asset. And I can see which of my attributes have been completed, what are we missing, and a percentage complete. And this is very handy because throughout the duration of the job, I'll always know the status of the attributes I'm collecting. So I can see very clearly here, hey, we're at 81%. If my contractors or vendors are billing for 90% completion, we can say, hey, wait a second, we're missing something. Let's pause on payment until we understand which attributes we haven't collected yet. Another really handy dashboard is the status of data collection. It's basically the previous dashboard we looked at, but turned on its side. Again, I can scroll through my type attributes and asset attributes and understand what have we collected, what are we missing. If I go to this air start units type, I can very clearly see we're missing number of steps, platform dimensions, and weight capacity. These fields are hyperlinked, so if I do want to jump quickly to the missing fields and input that information, it's very easy to do so. So we've got all our asset data collected throughout the duration of the project. Well, now the project's over. We're managing new assets, old assets. We got to determine what needs to be replaced over the coming years. The replacement planning dashboard visualizes this data very clearly to me. In here, I can see my assets broken down by location as we're collecting data like install date, warranty start and end dates, life expectancy, and they're all going to publish and push to these dashboards in near real time so I can get a full understanding of what needs to be replaced over the coming years. I like that I can see this broken down by location. So if a particular building or campus that needs more attention than others, it's going to be very apparent to me. I can also push these assets to the scenario planning application within Kahua, which essentially allows me to run a capital plan with my assets. Say I have a fixed amount of money that's going to be given to my organization over the next year or two, and I need to determine how I'm using that money to replace assets. Well, I can use that scenario planning tool to determine what we're replacing and when that replacement is going to happen. In addition, Kahua includes facility condition assessment capabilities. You can log deficiencies, track asset condition over time, and tie that information directly into your capital planning process. This gives you a continuous feedback loop from construction into operations and long-term planning. So instead of that asset data being something you hand over and forget, it becomes an active, living part of how you manage your facilities. So to wrap up, think back to the traditional closeout process. It's often rushed, fragmented, and incomplete. You spend years building something, but that final handoff doesn't reflect the level of effort that went into it. Kahua's asset-centric project management changes that. By capturing asset data throughout the project, through submittals, field tools, integrations, and structured workflows, you ensure that what you deliver at closeout is complete, accurate, and ready for operations from day one. So today we walk through how Kahua enables continuous asset data capture, flexible and configurable asset structures, real-time visibility into data completeness, and the ability to extend that data into replacement planning, scenario modeling, and facility condition assessments. If your team is dealing with fragmented handovers or struggling to deliver usable asset data, Kahua is built to bring structure, consistency, and long-term value to that process. And this is just the beginning. We can also explore how Kahua supports capital planning at scale, integrates with existing systems, and helps bridge the gap between project delivery and operations. Thank you for your time and have a great rest of your day.